Have you ever been in that awkward situation where you start talking and, little by little, realize that nobody is really paying attention? You try to start a conversation, ask questions, share stories, but glances wander, people nod politely, and you feel that tightness in your chest that says, nobody cares about what I have to say. Meanwhile, someone enters the room, utters a single sentence, and everyone leans in to listen. And you wonder, what does this person have that I don't? Why do their words seem to carry so much weight while mine simply evaporate into thin air? Here's the uncomfortable truth. The problem isn't that you don't have interesting things to say. The problem is that you're trying too hard. And the more you try to impress, prove your worth, fill every silence with words, the more you push people away. Because true attention isn't won through volume, effort, or performative charisma. It comes from something much more subtle and powerful: authentic presence. And authentic presence is only born when you stop desperately fighting to be heard and simply start being there, whole, without needing to prove anything to anyone. In this content, you will discover 6 principles of Stoic communication that transform ordinary words into messages that people truly want to hear. These aren't social manipulation tricks. They aren't empty self-help formulas. They are direct reflections of who you are when you finally stop acting and start living with intention. And the most interesting part? When you master these principles, not only will people start listening to you, you'll finally listen to yourself too. Stay until the end, because the 6th principle is the one most people never learn, and it's exactly what you're missing to regain power over your own words. Principle 1. Tell me more about it. The power of genuine listening. Let's start with something that goes against everything you've learned about being interesting. Stop trying to be interesting. Seriously, most people approach conversations like job interviews where they constantly have to prove their worth. Someone mentions they've started learning guitar, and what do? You immediately jump in with, "Oh, I used to play too. Let me tell you about it." And just like that, you've turned an open door into a wall. The person was offering you a piece of their world, a window into something they consider important, and you turned your back to talk about your own window. And you know what happens? They shut down. They mentally note, this person isn't interested in me. They just want to talk about themselves. And the next time you try to start a conversation, they'll be politely distant. Because nobody wants to be an obligatory audience for someone who only knows how to deliver monologues disguised as dialogue. Now imagine a completely different approach. Someone says, "I've started playing guitar," and instead of hijacking the conversation, you simply reply, "Tell me more about it." And then, and this is crucial, you truly listen. You don't think about your response while the person is talking. You don't look for connections to your own experiences to insert your story. You just listen, with genuine curiosity, with total presence. You observe the sparkle in their eyes when they talk about the first song they managed to play. You notice the frustration when they mention the difficulties with the chords. You feel the emotional energy they are sharing. And you know what happens in that moment? Something rare and precious. Real connection. Because you have just offered something that most people spend their entire lives longing for and rarely find. Someone who is genuinely interested in who they are, not just in an opportunity to talk about themselves. This active, genuine listening is magnetic. And not because you're using some sophisticated persuasion technique. It's magnetic because it's real. We live in a time where everyone wants to be heard, but almost no one wants to listen. Where conversations have become competitions of who can speak louder, faster, more impressively. And in this context, someone who truly listens stands out like a light in the darkness. People leave that conversation thinking, "Wow, I felt so interesting talking to her." And they don't even realize that it was precisely because you weren't trying to be interesting, you were interested. Try this today. In your next conversation, resist the urge to share your own experience. Just ask, "Tell me more about that." And listen, really listen, and observe how the dynamic changes completely, how the person opens up, how trust is established, because you just demonstrated something rare, true authenticity. Principle 2, I don't know. The courage of intellectual honesty. Here's something nobody told you about seeming intelligent. Pretending to know when you don't is the quickest way to appear insecure. Think about it. Someone mentions a subject you don't understand. It could be international politics, technology, philosophy, anything. And what happens? You panic internally. You feel that if you admit you don't know, you'll seem stupid, uninformed, inferior. So you start improvising. You spout vague opinions. You use generic terms. You try to maintain a confident expression while internally praying that nobody asks a deeper question. And you know what everyone around you notices? The falseness. Because the words may be right, but the energy is wrong. Your gaze seeks approval. Your voice has that subtle hesitation. Your body betrays what your mouth tries to hide. And in the end, you not only failed to impress anyone, you lost confidence and credibility. Now contrast that with someone who, faced with the same situation, simply says, "I don't know." 2 words. No excuses. No, "Oh, I've heard of it, but I don't remember well," or "It's not really my area, you know." Just, "I don't know," calmly, naturally, as if admitting a limitation were the most normal thing in the world. Because it is. Do you know what this honesty creates? Immediate respect. Because if this person has enough courage to admit what they don't know, you can trust that when they say they know something, it's true. Their authenticity isn't conditioned on appearing perfect. It's anchored in being real. And this, paradoxically, makes people trust them more than someone who pretends to know everything. It's the difference between performative confidence and true trust. One constantly needs to prove itself. The other simply exists. The Stoics understood this deeply. Socrates, one of history's greatest thinkers, became famous precisely for acknowledging, "I know that I know nothing." It wasn't false modesty. It was the understanding that true knowledge begins when you have enough intellectual humility to admit your limitations. And when you internalize this, when you become comfortable with "I don't know," something liberating happens. You stop wasting energy trying to appear as something you're not. You can finally participate in conversations without that constant anxiety of being found out. And the people around you relax too, because your honesty creates permission for them to be honest as well. Creates a space where learning is more important than impressing, where curiosity is worth more than vanity. Practice this. The next time you don't know something, just say, "I don't know," and observe. Observe how people don't judge you negatively. Observe how, in fact, they begin to respect you more, because you have just demonstrated something rare, the courage to be vulnerable. Principle 3. This seems difficult. Validation without correction. There's something most people do without realizing it, and it instantly destroys conversations, trying to fix the other person. Someone shares a problem. It could be at work, in their personal life, anything, and what do? You immediately switch to problem solver mode. Have you tried X? When it happened to me, I did Y and it worked. Look, just do Z and problem solved. And you think you're helping. You think you're being useful, showing empathy, demonstrating practical intelligence. But do you know what the other person really hears? Your problem is simple, and you're incompetent for not having solved it yet. Because every quick solution you offer carries a subliminal message. This isn't that difficult. Why are you still suffering with it? And the person who is opening up, closing off, making themselves vulnerable suddenly feels like an idiot. And they'll never share anything deep with you again. There's a much more powerful alternative. When someone shares a difficulty, instead of rushing into consulting mode, you simply validate, "That sounds difficult." 3 words. No advice. No correction. No attempt to minimize. Just genuine recognition of the weight the person is carrying. And you know what happens at that moment? The person relaxes, because you're not judging, you're not measuring, you're not comparing. You're just saying, "I see that this is heavy for you, and it makes sense that it is." This validation creates something rare and precious. A safe space. A place where the person can be vulnerable without fear of being fixed, corrected, or compared. And in that space, something curious happens. Often, the person themselves begins to process their emotions and find their own solutions, because they finally have permission to feel without being rushed to solve. The Stoics had a fundamental principle: be tolerant of others and rigorous with yourself. But most people do the exact opposite. They are rigorous with others and tolerant with themselves. They listen to other people's problems impatiently, already formulating judgments. That's easy to solve. I would never let it get to that point. Just do X. But what about their own mistakes? Then come the excuses, the justifications, the extenuating circumstances. When you stop judging and start validating, you break this destructive cycle. You build trust. And those who feel validated, who feel safe enough to be vulnerable, come back. Not because you gave the best solutions, but because you gave them genuine presence. Try it. The next time someone shares a difficulty, resist the temptation to fix it. Just say, "That seems difficult," and stay there, present. See how the person opens up, how they feel seen, how the connection deepens. Principle 4, the power of comfortable silence. Now let's talk about the most misunderstood and most powerful discipline of all, silence. Most people are terrified of silence, genuinely terrified. A pause in the conversation is enough to set in panic. Thoughts race. It's getting awkward. I need to say something, anything, quickly. And then come the desperate words. Comments about the weather, random stories no one asked for, nervous laughter to fill the void. Because deep down, silence feels like a failure. As if you failed to keep the conversation interesting, to keep the other person entertained, to prove that it's worthwhile being there. But here's the truth that will completely change the way you communicate. Silence is not a failure. Silence is power. And those who fear it are, in fact, afraid of themselves. Observe someone who is genuinely comfortable with silence. I'm not talking about someone who is quiet because they are shy or withdrawn. I'm talking about someone who simply inhabits silence naturally, without discomfort, without needing to fill it. When this person speaks, everyone listens, because each word is preceded by calm. Each sentence has weight because it is not competing with an incessant flow of verbal noise. The silence before and after speaking creates expectation. It gives space for words to settle, be absorbed, and make sense. It's like music. The pauses are as important as the notes. In fact, without pauses, there is no music, there is only noise. And most people are out there making noise, thinking they are making music, filling every second with empty words, when what would truly touch others would be intentional silence. But here's the secret power of silence that few understand. It reveals. When you're comfortable with silence, other people show who they really are. Because in the absence of your words, they fill the space with theirs. And you learn more about someone in 5 minutes of comfortable silence than in an hour of hurried conversation. Silence also conveys something fundamental: inner security. When you don't constantly need to prove your worth through words, when you can simply be present without performance, you communicate true confidence. And people feel it. They relax. They trust. They open up. Because your tranquility in silence creates permission for them to be tranquil too. Practice this consciously. In your next conversation, when a pause arises, don't rush to fill it. Breathe, smile slightly, remain present, and observe what happens. You'll realize that silence isn't awkward. It only seems that way to those who are uncomfortable with themselves. Principle 5. I appreciate you. Recognition of intrinsic value. Now let's talk about 3 words that are extremely rare and immensely powerful. I appreciate you. And before you think this is just a variation of thank you, let me explain the fundamental difference. When you say thank you, you are acknowledging an action. The person did something for you and you thank them. It's transactional. It's about what happened. But when you say I appreciate you, you are acknowledging something much deeper. The intrinsic value of that person. Not what they did, who they are. And that difference changes everything. Because we live in a world obsessed with productivity, with results, with usefulness. People are constantly measured by what they deliver, by what they produce, by what they add. And in this brutal context, someone who says, I appreciate you, recognizing the character, the presence, the essence of the person, not just their actions, offers something that almost no one else offers: true recognition of the other person's humanity. Think about the practical difference. Someone helps you with a project at work. You can say thank you for your help. And that's fine. It's polite. It's appropriate. But what if, in addition, you say, I appreciate you. the way you approach problems, how you stay calm under pressure, how you genuinely care about doing things well. I appreciate that about you. Do you feel the difference? The first response acknowledges the task. The second acknowledges the person. And when someone feels seen not for what they do, but for who they are, something profound happens. A bond is formed, not based on usefulness, not based on exchange, but based on genuine admiration. And these bonds, these are the ones that last, because they don't depend on you continuing to be useful. They depend only on you continuing to be you. The Stoics practiced this consciously. Marcus Aurelius, for example, had a habit of reflecting on the people around him and identifying their virtues. Not what they did for him, but who they were in essence. And he cultivated gratitude for these virtues, because he understood something fundamental. When you learn to see and recognize the value in people, you not only strengthen bonds, you become a better person. More attentive, more grateful, more aware of the human richness that exists around you. But beware, this phrase only works when it's sincere. If you say a mechanical, performative, "I appreciate you," people feel it. And instead of creating connection, you create distrust. Use these words carefully. Use them only when you truly feel it. When you genuinely admire something in the person's character. And when you use them, be specific. Say what you appreciate and why. Because vague recognition is praise. Specific recognition is deep validation. And deep validation creates true loyalty. Principle 6. NO, liberation from clear limits. And now we come to the shortest and perhaps most liberating word of all. No. 2 letters, a single sound, an immense power. Because here's something no one taught you. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you're betraying yourself. Someone asks for your time, your energy, your presence, and even unwillingly, even feeling that inner discomfort, you say yes. Out of fear of seeming rude, out of guilt, out of habit, out of not wanting to disappoint. And then you get stuck in that commitment you didn't want, in that conversation that drains you, in that project that doesn't make sense to you. And you know what happens? Resentment. You become resentful towards the person who asked. But the truth is, it's not their fault. It's your fault. Because you didn't have the courage to set a boundary. You chose to avoid the momentary discomfort of saying no, and now you're paying the price with a much greater, prolonged discomfort. The Stoics understood that self-mastery, true self-mastery, begins when you learn to protect your choices. And protecting your choices means having clarity about what you accept and what you reject. Every yes without conviction is a silent no to something that truly matters. Your peace, your rest, your goals, your priorities. When you say yes to everything, you're not being generous, you're being cowardly. You're avoiding external conflict at the cost of creating a devastating internal conflict. And the curious thing is that people sense this. They sense when your yes is genuine and when it's just to please. And the yes that comes from obligation doesn't create connection. It creates toxic dependence. Because the person learns that they can ask for anything and you will accept, not because you want to, but because you don't have the courage to refuse. Now contrast that with someone who knows how to say no calmly and firmly. No, I can't. No, that doesn't make sense to me right now. No, thank you. No elaborate excuses. No endless justifications. Just no. And you know what happens? Paradoxically, people respect that more. Because when someone knows you're capable of refusing, your yes gains real value. Your presence ceases to be guaranteed and becomes a choice. And conscious choice is precious. When you say yes, people know you really want to be there. Not because you didn't have the courage to refuse, but because you genuinely chose to accept. And that completely transforms the dynamics of any relationship. Boundaries don't push people away. Boundaries filter. They push away those who only wanted your unconditional availability. And they bring closer those who respect your autonomy. Practice. The next time someone asks for something and you feel that inner discomfort, stop. Breathe. And if the real answer is no, say no. Respectfully, calmly, but firmly. Your authenticity depends on it. And so we come to the end of this journey. But in truth, what you've just learned is only the beginning. because now you hold in your hands 6 principles that can completely transform the way you communicate. Genuine listening that creates connection, intellectual honesty that builds trust, validation without correction that offers safe space, comfortable silence that conveys inner security, recognition of intrinsic value that strengthens bonds, and clear boundaries that protect your authenticity. But here's the question that really matters. What are you going to do with it? Will you continue trying to impress people with empty words, filling every silence with anxiety, pretending to know what you don't, offering unsolicited advice, desperately seeking approval through an automatic yes to everything? Or will you have the courage to implement these principles one by one and finally discover what it means to be genuinely heard? Not because you're shouting louder, but because you're truly present. Think about it now. Which of these 6 principles do you most need to practice? Where are you failing? What conversation do you need to have using these tools? Don't let this knowledge become just another piece of content consumed and forgotten. Choose one principle, just one, and apply it today, in the next 24 hours. Be it, tell me more about that in a conversation with a friend. Be it, I don't know, when someone asks something you don't understand. Be it, that seems difficult when someone shares a pain. Be it, the comfortable silence instead of verbal nervousness. Be it, I appreciate you to someone whose character you admire. In other words, be the no you've been putting off out of fear. Just start. Because transformation doesn't happen in theory, it happens in practice. If this content resonated with you, leave a comment saying which of the 6 principles you will practice first. Your response can inspire others who are on the same journey. And if you want to continue developing this authentic presence, this communication that truly connects, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here you will find practical, applicable, transformative Stoic wisdom for you to use in real life, in real conversations, in real challenges. It's not off-the-shelf philosophy. It's pocket philosophy. A philosophy for breathing, for daily survival. Your voice deserves to be heard. And now you know how to make that happen.